we're analyzing a deal on how to quickly look at a deal to see whether or not it's going to cash flow for Section 8 purposes. Now, the fastest way you can do this, fastest way, is I get an email that looks just like this. I get the address, I get the total monthly payment that's been disclosed to me by the wholesaler. And if I take a look at this payment and I go to affordablehousing.com right away, and I go to the owner section and I go to the market rent estimator, I can plug in the address, I can plug in the bedroom count, and I can see that the average rent for 25 units within a 0.61 mile radius is 2216, $2,216. That tells me right away if that number is below the monthly payment number, I know it's not going to cash flow, at least for my purposes as a Section 8 property. So I can easily rule that out, right? And just remember, right? A subject to deal is when you are buying a property, right? So you're still taking ownership of the property. However, you're taking over the payments of the underlying loan, which means you're not going out there taking out another loan with your credit just to use that loan to pay off somebody else's loan. Because guess who makes money in that situation? Pretty much only the banks, right? So if you want to keep an advantageous underlying loan, maybe because they have a great interest rate, 2.5%, 3.75%, that's a huge difference, right? Huge difference. So that's what it takes for you to go ahead and pull this off. So 2,536 is the amount. Now, what if you say, oh, well, why using this rent? Sometimes people use the HUD rent. So if you go to a HUD FMR, sure, you can look up the city and the county and see what it's in, but you will be forgetting about the rent reasonableness test. So right now I'm pulling up the rent reasonableness test, okay? And you can see right here for the Housing Choice Voucher Program Guidebook. And just to fully be transparent, we already figured out that this wasn't going to cash flow. So I would have stopped analyzing deals then, right? We figured that out in less than a minute. But now I want to show you some of the rationale for why you have to use that rent number, right? If you're on the Housing Choice Voucher Program Guidebook, right? HCV used to stand for the Section 8 program, and they rebranded from Section 8 to Housing Choice Vouchers because of all the negative connotation that was associated with Section 8. And if you go to Section 2.2, there's a test called the rent reasonableness test. And you can see that right here it says the PHA, or the Public Housing Authority, must determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units. So this means that you can't charge more for your property. You can't charge more than what the market is charging just because you're renting out to a voucher holder, right? For all the obvious reasons. So obviously size, unit type, all this stuff matters. But I am using this number as an estimate because chances are, if I'm looking at 4-bedroom properties, these are all 4-bedroom single family homes. It's very rare for people to build 3-bedroom apartments, right? So I'm assuming that these are all properties, okay? So these are all the properties that I can use as my comp very quick, because guess what? This saves me time, right? Because how do we avoid burnout?
Daddy, what should do today?
Daddy's analyzing a property.
No, what should do today?
Daddy went to work. Daddy play with you. Daddy drive you to school. Daddy pick you up from school. Daddy bring you shopping. Daddy bring you grocery shopping. Remember? And then eat dinner with you.
Yesterday we go supermarket.
Okay. Hey. You want to do tomorrow?
No,
Yeah.
no,
Good night, okay?
I want to panda.
Look at Panda.
I got all my MMO later.
Okay, we'll go get Panda later. And
I want to check all my MMO.
okay, we'll check it out tomorrow morning, okay?
Okay.
Good night.
Bye.
I love you.
Daddy, taking that right now.
Okay. I love you so much. Good night. Sweet dreams. All right. So let's finish it up this analysis. Where were we? We're talking about the rent reasonableness. This is why we use 2216. And this is how you quickly realize that this is not a deal. And most importantly, please, please, please apply the rent reasonableness test. A lot of times, folks will just go to the HUD's website, They'll look at the smart FMR and say, "Oh, these are my rents. I'm gonna get that much for rent," and they forget about the rent reasonableness test, and that could be the difference between cash flowing on a deal or losing your shirt on a deal. So don't be that person. Please keep in mind on the rent reasonableness test. All right. I hope you all have an amazing Friday. Spend a quality time with your family and friends today. Happy Memorial Day. I hope you all are able to relax a little bit. And thank you, folks. Thank you for those that serve our country. Thank you for your service. Have an amazing Friday, everybody. I'll see y'all tomorrow for day 603. All right. Have a good one, everybody. Hopefully this was helpful. And if you guys want to copy the spreadsheet on how we can actually use a spreadsheet to analyze the deal, go to affordablehousing.io and go get the deal analysis tool. Okay. Now, if you have questions, I've done so many lives on how to analyze the deals with the spreadsheet. So please go give that a try. Today, the whole point of today's live was to show you how fast you can roll out a deal so you do not burn out. Because guess what? If you don't burn out, if you don't quit, chances are you're not even competing anymore. You're just outlasting everybody. And at that point, you're just collaborating with everybody. All right. Have an amazing Friday. I'll see you all tomorrow for day 603. Have a good one.